What is up, everyone? I am Charlie Shrem. It is good to be back in the saddle, and you are listening and watching Untold Stories, where twice a week I get to dive deep with some of crypto's most influential leaders and really find out how this movement came to be. And I'm so excited that I get to be joined today by my good friend Michael Terpin. Michael, you're coming to us from Puerto Rico, from San Juan, and I was just there last week. We got to hang out. It's warmer there, it's colder here. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
It's my great pleasure to be here, Charlie.
Michael, you were one of the founders of Bit Angels in 2013 with David Johnston and Sam Yelnats, and it was one of the first angel networks for Bitcoin and digital currency startups. And back then, I remember when we were sitting and talking about it, you were saying to me, "Well, we're gonna launch a fund and we're gonna invest in all these projects that are supporting crypto." And I'm like, "Who are you? What the hell is a fund? And what the hell is crypto? And all I know is Bitcoin. All we know is Bitcoin." How did you have like the pre ideas and requisites thinking that eventually tokens would exist, security tokens would exist, company, all these things down the road ended up existing, but the three of you almost like had to say this will exist and we need to create the funds and the business models and the support for them now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that my interest was just coming in early 2013, and David and Sam had been investing in Bitcoin since 2012. Looking at this and saying that this was going to just blow up. I mean, I think I'm good at sort of seeing things early that are see sort of through the weeds that it's going to be world dominating someday. I saw that really with with the web back in '92 and '93. And people were still as late as 95, 96 saying, this is never going to work. What's e-commerce? Amazon is way smaller than my local shopping mall. It's never going to work. No one's going to ever, go to Netflix instead of Blockbuster. And obviously they got bulldozed over by history. And I sort of saw, the same script being written in the next, coming years. And I remember seeing at the Bitcoin Foundation initial conference, which is where I met David, and we just acted very quickly. I noted that Andreessen Horowitz had announced a venture investment in Coinbase, and I think it was Union Square had announced an investment in Ripple. And I was like, so there's a couple of big venture companies that I'm familiar with just from my history in technology in Silicon Valley, and yet I don't see any angel groups. Is there such a thing as an angel group in Bitcoin or crypto? And David, literally, we're at a cocktail party. He said, and I just met him. He said, "No, why don't we start one?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm kind of busy, but yeah, that's a good idea. And then I came up with the name Bit Angels right there. I'm kind of good at naming things. I've named a lot of products and tokens and things like that. And David then, man of action, got on his phone and said, "I'm going to set up a website right now. Let's get the domain." Bitangels.com was and still is owned by Kraken. Will not sell it to us. But we got bitangels.co.
Jesse, sell it to him. Jesse's listening to the show right now. Jesse,
I know,
sell him that damn domain.
I know.
Well, because you know what happens? Kraken is trying to buy that domain from him all the time. Kraken, the liquor, the rum or whatever, trying to buy it from him. He won't sell it to them. So now there's like a whole thing going on.
Yeah, we ended up getting, we're at bitangels.network. And that's fine. That's what we are now. We've been at IO and CO and a few other things. But, what we did was we put out a notice on the Bitcoin Reddit, which back then was only like, tens of thousands of people, and said, "Hey, we're at the conference and we're going to have an organizing meeting. Anybody who's interested in investing in new startups that are, having wallets, exchanges, we need to build the infrastructure for crypto." We weren't even talking about tokens yet because really there weren't any ICOs at that point. The first ICO was almost entirely funded by Bit Angels in August of that year. This is May. And
which one was that? Was that the Mastercoin one?
That was Mastercoin.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that's how it all ties together. Beautiful.
That's how it ties together. Yeah. So we were hoping 5 or 6 people aside from the 3 of us would show up. We got 30. And what was great was, 30. And these were all new people to me. Yeah. And so, Vinny Lingham was there, Jared Kenna was there, Roger Ver was there, and I didn't know Roger at that point. I'm just asking people, hey, how long have you been investing, in crypto? And like most people were like somewhere in
He's
2013, somewhere 2012, and Roger's kind of like 2010. Well, there was a couple 2010, 2011 guys,
Roger was arguably the first angel
and
investor
uh,
in Roger was arguably like the first angel investor in the crypto space, and he kind of defined for me what angel was. And really it's like most people don't understand, or I didn't know when I was starting a company. When you're raising money, you don't just go to these big funds and you go and you say, hey, like, and you're like the CEO and you can just talk the talk and walk the walk. No, you need to be trained, conditioned. There's a certain way to do things, but at the same time, you need your angel investor. You need that person who's the
mhm.
first one who not just puts that initial money in, but also like guides and explains and teaches and how to walk the walk, how to be the brightest crown in the box. That's what that so Roger was that person for me, became my big brother, my father when I was needing that family and community. So how do you define an angel investor, and how important is that to really any startup, not just with crypto, but in any company?
It's hugely important. The amount of angel money in just technology ventures in general is about 5 times the amount of venture capital, and they're taking the highest risks. So when it works out, they get the highest rewards. But they're managing their own money, not professional money, so they can move fast. And you go in, and I prior to getting into crypto, I raised money from Sequoia Capital and Humber Windblad, two of the biggest VCs in Sand Hill Road. And it took 7 meetings for me to be able to get a check from Sequoia. Well, my first angel investment was from somebody that I knew for years, had actually been a client of my PR firm, had been a friend, and had made a boatload of money when he took his second company public. And all of a sudden he's sitting on tens of millions of dollars personally that are liquid, and tens of millions more that are in stock. And he's starting to do some angel investing. It's a diversification. A lot of people who want to stay current with the game, and also want to sort of make their money work for them. If you take 5%, I mean, Jason Calacanis likes to say you should take 5% of your net worth and put it into early stage startups, because if you know what you're doing, you're able to go in. If it all goes to zero and everything else is just kind of conservative investments in stocks or bonds, or obviously crypto is not
Yeah.
that conservative, but
Then you get a tax write-off
for
or
those of
whatever.
us, we have, yeah, but yeah. So if you have it 95% in sort of traditional conservative investments, real estate, et cetera, maybe you're making 4 or 5%. And that 5%, if you lose it all, your 5% maybe goes to 5 point whatever, 5.75 or something like that. But you could go and quadruple that money if you have a home run. And so it's your kind of portfolio driver, they say.
So if you have
And it
like
also sort of like, it gets you close to new opportunities that, in my case, I'm an advisor, I'm an investor, I'm a marketer. And so I'll find companies where I invested in them, but I was also able to go and, help them with my PR company, Transform PR, which is part of Transform Group, which is sort of the umbrella that does, Bit Angels now and Coin Agenda and advisory services and a few other things. But it's most angels basically, they want to stay in the game, and a lot of them are kind of retired or semi-retired, or they want to sort of make their money work for them in an area that they know. They say invest in what you know. I don't invest in like a canned peaches company, because I don't
yeah.
know what makes a good canned peaches company from a bad canned peaches company. But I do know what makes a good crypto company, and I do know some of the little things that people just tend to miss. And that's really, I think, my main value as an advisor. And being an advisor then also means that if I'm also putting money in, I've got some advisory shares or tokens to sort of, make my early stage investment, you know, uh, at a net average lower cost, because I've got some advisory tokens that I'm earning. And I mean, I live in Puerto Rico, as you know, where we have these programs where there's no capital gains tax for the U.S. or for Puerto Rico. So cash is trash right now. I think it's doing nothing but going down in value against all the other assets, and I'd rather put things in a bucket of startups where sure, in traditional startups, 95% fail. I'd say in crypto
Yeah.
startups, if you're getting good deal flow, maybe only half fail. And in a bull market, maybe only a third of them fail. And you can get some, I'm an advisor to Bridge Mutual. I mean, they went up, from the advisory round level, like 40x right out of the gates. And now they're larger than all their competitors combined in 4 days. But they went and got really good investors, really good advisors, and they really planned everything perfectly.
Those finer details are so important. The little details that other people miss, the red flags and things like that. That's what you're helping people do, but also like figure out how to like wade those waters and trailblaze because you had to trailblaze that first time yourself. And so the Transform Group ended up becoming this company that follows its own goal of transforming. And you mentioned Coin Agenda. And so while in the early days, everyone was focused around conferences and getting everyone together. So now and this goes into angel investing, and it all comes together with you. You figured out that it's not the conference that's the important part, but what's more important about the conferences? When you have all these people that are coming together in one location, you figured out that all these people are not, and myself included, we're not interested in actually going to the conference. We're interested in hanging out with each other. So you created Coin Agenda based on that. And how did that come to be?
Well, Coin Agenda came as a logical next step for Bit Angels because Bit Angels in the beginning, and of course now with the pandemic, but in the beginning it was all virtual. We had 30 people that got together at that initial table and hung out during the conference. And then we started a series of weekly calls where we would go and vet deals that would come to us. And then we would screen them. We'd pick one or two, sometimes in a bull market three, and they'd be from all over the world, right? So we'd have, we would have a company that's doing a South American exchange out of Peru, and then we'd have investors who are calling in from Russia, and so we had a hard time picking the right time zone. I think we did it like morning West
Yeah.
Coast, lunchtime East Coast, and that way you were able to kind of get in to most of Europe as well. And then the Asians had to either get up early or stay up late, or watch the replay. And we did go and film all these things, record them, and they're still in our archives. If you're a member of Bit Angels at bitangels.network, you can go in and look at all the archives, including, we have a video of people grilling Vitalik on what Ethereum is going to be.
Oh my
Back
God.
in, I think, maybe February of 2014 after he did the white paper.
I need to go check that out
And
right
of course,
now.
and of
I'm
course,
gonna
that
put that
fund
in
that you
the
were
show
talking
notes,
about.
guys. That video, I need to put that in. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Charlie, and remember that time we interviewed Anthony Trenchev from NEXO Finance? Well, they are on a roll right now, offering 5.9% APR on your crypto credit. You'll be able to borrow at less than 6% on some of your crypto. They got a savings account that's offering 12% interest a year, and now they have an integrated exchange so you can trade between all your cryptos without ever leaving their integrated wallet. It's so amazing. Make sure you check it out at nexo.io and start earning interest, start managing your assets, because crypto banking just got real with NEXO. I love that. That's awesome. I love NEXO. It's such a great company. So you guys know that Courtney and I love Valentine's Day, and I'm super excited because my sponsors over at Bitcasino and my friends are offering a whole big Valentine's Day promotion, big red heart promo. What you got to do is go to bitcasino.io/Charlie and make sure you opt in on the promo page. Once you do that, you go back to Bitcasino and click that big heart. When you click that big heart and you wager 15 MBTC on any of the games that you already love, you'll get 3 times the amount of mystery prizes added to your account. That's 3 times as many prizes added to your account. All you have to do is go to bitcasino.io/Charlie. Opt in, click the big red heart, say Happy Valentine's Day, and get your 15 MBTC wager in to get your prizes. bitcasino.io/Charlie. And happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Well,
Yeah.
it became more about the dinners and the meetings and the
Right. Well,
conversations.
what happened was that Bit Angels would have Bit Angels breakfast at other people's conferences, And then we ended up going and having
Yeah.
a Bit Angels, meetup at like the Inside Bitcoins conferences. And I finally said, all of a sudden there was like, we were supposed to have a meetup and it was in New York City and it rained and nobody could get there. And I said, this is crazy. We're up to, at that point, a couple of hundred members. I think we were at 500 or 600 members at that point. And I was like, we need our own conference. And so I decided that I wanted to be, because I also was trying to get traditional tech investors interested in Bitcoin, interested in crypto, interested in, they didn't even call them ICOs yet, but interested in Dapps. The fund that we did, Bit Angels Fund One, was renamed the Dapps Fund because it only invested in Dapps.
Yep.
David Johnson was really the driver of saying we're only going to invest in Dapps. And we had a pretty good track record. We raised 10,000 Bitcoin back when they were $600 a piece, and we put $1 million into Ethereum at 30 cents. We put $1 million into MaidSafe, or I think a couple million into MaidSafe, under a penny. And obviously, you can see what the prices are today. We ended up distributing them as soon as they went on the exchanges, because almost everybody we had were traders. And so had we been a traditional fund and like held on to them for 7 years, we would have been the most successful fund in the history of venture capital, because we would have held
All those
Ethereum to
Bitcoins.
like $1,000 instead of distributing it at 70 cents, which is still a double, but that's where the carry came out of. But the main thing was just the stuff that we got for ourselves too. But that was the Dapps Fund. That was in March of 2014. So we hit that whole 2014 wave of early, they called them Bitcoin 2.0. Remember that phrase?
Oh yeah, Bitcoin
Uh,
2.0 back in 2014.
yeah,
Those are
yeah.
all the
And so that was
altcoins.
that was the Ethereum part of that wave, and the next wave was 2015 we went through a crypto winter in late 2014, early 2015, and the thing that really kind of got people the ability to get funded again was Augur. Augur was the first company to actually use ERC20 as a fundraising mechanism, where you could go and actually, just here's the address and anybody can go and put it in. And it was just like, what
Yeah.
Mastercoin had done with Bitcoin, but it was like automated, and it was just, you would then have a smart contract to prove that it's going to go back out to you. And they were the first ones to do that. And so, I'm very proud that we worked with Augur on their
I've had
ICO.
Jeremy on the
And that's
show. I
actually
need to get Joey Krug on the show as well. That
yeah.
would be a great episode to talk about that, because that was kind of like when they conceptualized it. But you look at PR when you're advising those companies back then, and you're advising them now. You're doing this for so long. The who you're talking to, and the narratives and the messaging, and who the audience is on the other side has changed. Because now, like
It
for
has.
example, with Coinbase going public soon, what type of PR and media preparations do you think they have to make and as other ones go public? Because you said once the first one goes through, how will the relationship
Mhm.
between crypto companies and the media change?
Well, I think that it'll be similar to how the internet was perceived before and after Netscape going public.
Oh
There
my
was a lot of
god,
people. I mean, there was a big piece in Newsweek
love that.
that basically, said, the internet's a joke, and it was a full page editorial, say in 1995, before Netscape went public, and it said the internet's a joke, and that people are not going to go read things on their computer. They're going to always use a fine, glossy print magazine like Newsweek, because they want to sit under a tree and this and that. And of course, the internet is now, accessible to more people than have toilets, and Newsweek is out of business. So there you go. And but I saw the same thing coming with crypto. And so what I was trying to do with Coin Agenda was have a home for the Bit Angels to go, instead of having to crash everybody else's party, or like work around it. And B, to take these investors who should be investing in crypto, and they invest in things that to me are much higher risk than Bitcoin. Back then they're investing in like I don't know early AI, logistics, and all sorts of things that are 100 to 1 shots to make it, but if they do, they're going to be big. And they would go to these conferences, and I started speaking in a lot of these the finance panels, the venture panels, the angel panels. There'd be usually one at every conference. And so I'd invite people and say, hey, you should go to Inside Bitcoins. You should go to like, Coin Congress, or some of the older shows that aren't around anymore. And they go, and I say, what you think? And he goes, well, I like your panel. I understood that they were talking about investing, but I didn't get what they were talking about. Scaling and libertarian causes, and it was just too much stuff that was like, if you were new to the space, you wanted to hear, why should I invest in Bitcoin? What else out there is fundamentals, etc. I mean, try to explain DeFi to a family office. I mean,
Yeah.
I tried to explain it to somebody who actually owns crypto. They own Ethereum, they own Bitcoin, and I tried to explain DeFi, and they're like, "Well, who's the counterparty? Who do I sue? And all this stuff." And I was like, "What's in a smart contract?" He goes, "No, I'll stick with SoFi." And so every new iteration of innovation on the blockchain and in cryptocurrency has a new layer of explanation to investors. And so what I wanted to do was, I called it originally when we started in October 2014 for the first Coin Agenda. I said it's going to be the Goldman Sachs conference crypto, but Goldman Sachs isn't running it. And
Right.
I wanted to have it be, because I got invited to all these traditional tech investor conferences. Every investment bank has one, Goldman Sachs and UBS, and they'll have one for medical, or they'll have one for semiconductor, and they'll invite their best clients to show them the new opportunities, and they're usually companies that they're backing, and they'll go and charge everybody, right, except for the buyer. The buyer gets wined and dined if you're a Goldman Sachs private wealth client, and if not, you'll pay like $2,000 or $3,000, and you get a really high level experience that you don't want to leave. And as opposed to like a lot of the early crypto conferences were like, hey, $100 to attend, and there's the food cart out there if you want to go and grab a sandwich. And that's fine for the OGs, but that's not the way to bring in new people, right? That's not a way to bring in family offices. So from the beginning, I wanted to go and have a high end conference. Obviously, some of the pricing depends on whether we're in Bitcoin winter or Bitcoin summer. But we were charging $2,500 or 2,500 euros at the peak, and I'm sure we'll be back to that again in the next year, so that we could afford to be able to go in and do things like, we had a dinner at the Knights of Malta Castle in
Oh
Malta, and
wow.
we had the premier of Malta do our opening keynote right when he did his crypto friendly jurisdictional legislation.
I remember you were renting out nightclubs in Vegas for us. Transform Group Vegas parties. I miss those.
We did, and then we would have big nightclub things. We had one opening party we did at overlooking the strip from
Yeah, it was the Bellagio. I
the
remember that one.
Bellagio, one of their big nightclubs. Hyde, yeah, that was great. And
That was fun because that was the first conference that I had gone to post prison. So I didn't see
mm,
anyone for 2 years, and then I came to that event, and it was just like seeing all my Ivan and everyone. I'm just remembering like
yeah,
giving hugs. It was crying. It was It was the most. So thank you for doing that. But it was the most unbelievable experience.
well, that's the thing that we're trying to, like, just keep the community together, and we just sort of have to upsize or downsize based on the
The bull or
ability
bear market.
to bull or bear market. I mean, so for example, we haven't done Coin Agenda Europe in 2019 because nobody wanted to sponsor it. Whereas in Vegas and in Puerto Rico, you know, I'm not going to lose that much money because they're my home markets, right?
True.
And whatever money that I lose by not getting sponsors, I'll just put my own sponsors in. I'll just and I'll break even. And the point is that the relationships, just by doing this twice a year, are priceless. And I have to keep the quality high. This year, because of the pandemic, we had to do. We actually had the final Coin Agenda was the final crypto conference. It was in February of 2020, the last week. It was the week before the first cancellations when Perry Ann Boring canceled the Washington
Oh
D.C.
yeah, I
summit,
remember
and
February
we
2020.
yeah, so we got out. We were like the week after the NFT conference, NFT NYC, and we were the week before the first one that got canceled. So we were the final week of
NFT
February,
NYC.
and
That's great.
yeah, it was a good conference
Why
actually.
didn't I
And
go
and
to
again,
that?
besides the
That sounds
it
awesome.
was a good one. It got their community together really well. I mean, it's all about getting community
It
together.
is.
And they're an early thing, so they held it at the Edison Hotel, and everybody was crammed in. It wasn't like a really high end one, but they had a higher end speakers dinner, And so with Coin Agenda, the whole idea is that everybody's a VIP, And so we'd held a Bit Angels sort of like pitch session that's free for everybody who gets selected to present, and that was how, like, historically, more at like kind of a pre-show where you didn't have to attend the whole conference, you didn't have to pay anything. If you wanted to and you wanted to get a table, then we give you a discount because you were chosen as this. And that's still pretty much the model we're going to be having. This year we're moving Coin Agenda Caribbean to December. We're going to run it right after Art Basel because
Oh,
we get a lot of crypto
perfect.
people down into Miami for Art
Come
Basel.
down to Puerto Rico, and then we go back for Bitcoin. Yeah, Miami.
Yeah, yeah. And there was no particular reason to have it in February other than that's just when it was nice weather. But it's nice weather in December too. And also with so many people moving down here, if you come down here in December and you decide you really want to, make it happen, you can still get your driver's license and rent an apartment before December 31st, which means that your next year is a full year rather than a year of the move. But I won't get it too much into
I
Puerto Rico
wanna
yet.
I wanna talk about the Act. It's Act 20 and Act 22, right? Act 20 and Act 22 Puerto Rican hacienda.
Correct.
I'll talk about that in a second, and I also want to talk about your big
Hmm.
war against AT&T. But there's a common thread with everything that I've learned about you a few
Sure.
years ago. You are someone who die hard follows his instinct and his gut. And that's something that I'm personally striving to trust my own instinct more, like the flow state, going with the flow. Do you remember any like point in your life that you said, wow, like I'm happy I trusted myself. And because of that, you had a much more firm like belief in your own personal capital? Because a lot of people struggle with that, with their own like self-worth or belief in our own growth, getting out of that box of what we're doing now to go to the next level because we're scared to trust ourselves.
Sure. So that's a great question. I would say I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and sort of working class, steel mill town. My dad was an artist. He just passed away at age 97. About a month and a half ago, and I think he always wanted to be just an artist. And when you grow up in a steel town, what you have to do is you have to find art jobs like designing wallpaper or working in a factory that like does So he would paint on the side, and he actually did a one-man show at age 90, and so a lot of people did love his art. But he had to figure out how to make things work within that kind of environment where your environment defines you rather than you defining what your environment should be. And I always thought that even though I like to say Buffalo is a great place to grow up, get moral values and grounding, and then get the hell out of town and find some place that is as big as your dreams. And I was always encouraged not to have dreams by people around me. Not my family. My family encouraged me, but they always still. There's this kind of like I think that may be one reason why Buffalo's never won the Super Bowl or whatever. I hate to say this, but they just like, oh well, at least you tried. You tried. It's okay. It's like you're not rich. You grew up, working class. So you tried. That's good enough. You're never going to beat the man.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I know other people who beat the man. And so I think the initial thing was, I had several times where I was like, I want to go to Syracuse University because it's the top journalism school in the country, and I'm a writer. And I knew that I wanted to do something in journalism. I didn't even know that PR was going to be, the path that I ended up taking because I was just kind of a working, daily newspaper chasing fire trucks and writing stories journalist first at a small town paper after graduating from Syracuse. But my dad is like, I can't afford Syracuse, and I go, well, that's okay. There's like there's grants, there's this or that, there's like scholarships, and everybody I knew just encouraged me. They said, no, why don't you go to like Erie Community College or like I can get you a job in a factory, and I just was like, my gut is no. I know what I want to do, and I'm not going to be discouraged by people saying, don't get uppity and above your class. And I was right, and I was able to go and do that. The second gut feeling I had was when I did get a fellowship. I noticed they structured the fellowship or the scholarship that you got a free ride the first 2 years, then they gave you half of your tuition and dorm fees or whatever the third year, and then they give you nothing the fourth year because they figured by then you're on the hook. So I figured out a way to get 2 degrees in 3 years by basically going into the state school and transferring the credits. And the state school was free for me, or almost free.
Oh.
And so little hacks like that. And I would run them by people and they say, no, that's not going to work here. They're not gonna, and I just always was like,
But
what?
why not
If
try?
you're not a bigger expert than me, why not try?
That's what I tell people. If you're going to end up in the same place you were, why not just try?
Right.
Why not
And
ask?
sometimes you get ahead of yourself, right? And I've certainly had startups that have failed. The thing is just knowing when to say, try real hard and then say, maybe this isn't the one.